7, Niner, 4, 3, 10.
Get in position and wait for my go.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Erkley and welcome to another edition of the PE Crime Blotter, a weekly look at crime here in the Inland Empire. We begin with crime headlines. A Riverside man died when the driver of a Ford Mustang, traveling almost 100 miles an hour over the posted residential speed limit while racing another car, lost control and slammed into a parked car early Sunday morning. According to police, 18-year-old Jesus Gomez of Riverside was drunk while driving the 1994 Mustang. He hit speeds estimated at 120 miles an hour on Mitchell Avenue when the car skidded into a parked 2005 Honda at Norwood Avenue near La Sierra Park at 1:22 a.m. Both cars then struck a utility pole. Riverside City firefighters had to cut the mangled Mustang to get the victims out. They were then taken to Riverside Community Hospital, where the passenger later died. The Riverside County coroner identified the victim as Ruben Torriquez of Riverside. Gomez was hospitalized for non-life-threatening injuries. A 17-year-old Hemet High School student told a school official that 31-year-old Janelle Ramirez, a 9th grade English teacher, kissed him the last day of his sophomore year while he was her teacher's aide, and later promised that they would be together after he graduated, according to a search warrant and an affidavit obtained earlier this week. The teen said the sexual relationship always occurred in her classroom behind a locked door. The student told a district employee who notified sheriff's deputies the night of February 29th. Deputies arrested Ramirez the next day at Hemet Unified School District. She was released on a $100,000 bond and has not been charged. A family gathering Saturday in Moreno Valley turned deadly when someone entered a house on Rio Grande Drive and began shooting. 4 people were hit and 26-year-old Aaron Leiden Wesley of Moreno Valley was killed. No one has been arrested as of Monday afternoon and no motive was known. The other 3 victims are expected to recover. Prosecutors charged a Hemet man with 6 felonies after 3 young girls accused him of molesting them as part of a religious ceremony. Ephraim Bernal, 41 years old, pleaded not guilty to charges Friday afternoon in a French Valley courtroom. He could face life in prison if convicted of molesting multiple victims. Riverside County animal control officers continue to look for person or persons responsible for shooting a Queensland Heeler puppy in the head with a pellet gun and then tossing it in a trash bin. Officials are trying to get a hold of surveillance video from local businesses in the area and hope that they may give clues to whoever dumped the dog. A transient found the dog on the morning of March 4th in the trash bin near a convenience store and alerted the store's staff. They then called Animal Services. The dog later had to be euthanized. Well, that does it for this week's crime headlines. After the break, we'll take a look at the big court cases in On the Docket.
We cover the issues you care about. Here at the Press Enterprise and PE.com, local news matters whether you live along Route 66 or on Main Street. We provide regional analysis and in-depth investigation of issues like education, transportation, the environment, and much more. Important matters are covered here. That is how we keep you connected to your community. The Press Enterprise and PE.com. For home delivery, call 1-800-794-NEWS.
Welcome back to the PE Crime Blotter. It is now time for our On the Docket segment. We're taking a look at the big court cases in both Riverside and San Bernardino County. Joining me now is the Press Enterprise's Rich Diatley. Rich, our first case took place right here in Riverside, a woman facing manslaughter charges when she hit and killed a highway worker.
Brandy Holmes faces an 18-year sentence on the basis of a plea bargain she made with prosecutors last month. She admitted to vehicular manslaughter in the drunken driving accident that took the life of that highway worker, and she'll be in court on, I believe, Wednesday.
Then second, murder charge out of San Bernardino. A 3-year-old girl was killed last summer and the man is now facing charges.
Brandon Barnes faces 1 count of murder, 7 counts of attempted murder from a shooting last September rather, in San Bernardino, where the family was gathered at a home, and he's due in court on Friday.
Then out in Moreno Valley, one of the defendants in the case of a slain Moreno Valley musician now possibly faces the death penalty.
Right. The victim was Theron Bryson of Moreno Valley. He played bass for funk legend Bootsy Collins. He was found dead at the San Jacinto Recovery Center, where he worked along with another man, Corey Macedon, who now faces the death penalty in that case. Macedon, along with the co-defendant, Devell Walker, will be in court Thursday. Walker does not face the death penalty. Among the items allegedly robbed from that place of business where Bryson was murdered was a base that he kept there.
Then finally, in Riverside, deliberation this week for a man accused of using MySpace to trick underage girls into sending him nude photos.
Right, Joshua Threlkeld of Orange. He faces 80 felony counts. That stems from contact he made with 41 girls between the ages of 11 and 17.
All right, Rich, thanks for joining us. That does it for our On the Docket segment. Up next, the police need your help in the Crime Initiative segment. All right, it is now time for our Crime Initiative segment. We begin with a story out of Lake Elsinore. A Lake Elsinore woman says keepsakes from her grandfather's Major League Baseball career were stolen in a recent break-in at her home. Joining us now from the Southwest is the Press Enterprise's Sarah Burge with more on the story. Sarah, what is the latest information on this break-in?
Well, the woman and her husband said that they've been visiting pawn shops in the area and passing out flyers. They're just hoping to, if not get the stolen items back, then to hopefully make it more difficult for whoever stole them to sell them. Basically, the couple said that somebody broke into their home and stole a jewelry box the other day that had a charm bracelet and a championship ring that actually had belonged to her grandmother and commemorated her grandfather's baseball career from the 40s. And she's just devastated about it because it just of the sentimental value of the items. But also they're worth several $1,000s, she said.
Now, any idea, were they targeted? I mean, an item like a Yankees championship ring has to have pretty good value. Were they targeted, or are police thinking this was a random act?
Well, you know, the police haven't weighed in on that yet. The woman and her husband were a little bit suspicious about it because the thief didn't take cash that was left laying out in the open or her diamond ring that was right in the bathroom, but yet they went to her closet and took this jewelry box. But at the same time, they said that, you know, there aren't a lot of people that even know that they have those items, and so they're not sure what happened. But they also taken was a fire safe from the closet that had items of not a whole lot of value, so it's hard to say.
All right, well, hopefully that family can get those items back and they find the person responsible. Sarah, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Moving on to a story in Banning, officials are now saying arson is the blame for a fire in the former Mathewson department store in Banning. The fire was sparked at 1 p.m. Monday in the 200 block of Ramsey Street. Firefighters arrived to find black smoke pouting out of the back of the building. Investigators found the fire was deliberately set, but the department did not say what led to the conclusion. No suspects have been identified. Chino police are looking into the possibility that the perpetrator of a violent bank robbery in their city may have attempted a similar heist Friday in Sacramento. Officials aren't ready to say that the men involved in the robberies are one and the same, but they are taking a careful look at the Sacramento crime. KTXL-TV in Sacramento quoted local police as saying that the man attempted a robbery wearing tactical gear, a bulletproof vest, ski mask, and had an assault rifle, all identical to the man who robbed the Chino bank. The FBI and Chino police have offered a reward of up to $20,000 for information leading to the arrest in the inland robbery that left one police officer seriously wounded. And that does it for our Crime Initiative segment. Up next, In Depth. All right, it is now time for our In-Depth segment. We're taking a look at a couple fatalities in the last few weeks here in the IE involving street racing. I'm joined now by the Press Enterprise's Brian Rokos. Brian, about 10 days ago we had a fatality involving street racing in Elsinore. And then just this last weekend on the streets of Riverside, a fatality when a guy in a Mustang was driving 120 miles an hour.
And that was in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. In Lake Elsinore, a person died when his vehicle rolled over, and police wound up arresting the other person who was racing the individual. And then in Riverside, a passenger died when a driver who was racing someone else crashed into a parked car. And police are looking for a silver sedan that was racing that Mustang. And when police catch up to that driver, they're going to arrest him too.
I mean, obviously, when you're driving at these speeds, it's pretty simple. It's pretty dangerous, but people are going to do it anyways. And people are kind of speculating maybe there's a correlation between the closing of a racetrack in Fontana, where on Saturdays people could go and do this, and kind of maybe these two instances over the last few weeks.
Yeah, in Fontana at the Speedway, there was a drag strip that people could drive their cars on, and neighbors complained about the noise, and a court shut it down. Now, I spoke with Sergeant Skip Showalter of the Riverside Police Department, and he said, yes, maybe some people might use that closure as an excuse, but there's no legal basis for street racing anywhere. That's a violation of the law. It would be nice if there were places where people could put the pedal to the metal, so to speak, but unfortunately that's not the case.
And obviously, this isn't just like any old speeding ticket. It's not just going to be a slap on the wrist. This is going to be a serious penalty.
Right. A person who gets found to be street racing, they get arrested. It's not a citation for going a little bit too fast. And what kind of an interesting aspect of this is, talking to Sergeant Showalter, is I thought most people who race each other might know each other. They prearrange these things. But he was telling me a lot of it is spur of the moment. Two cars roll up to a stop sign or a stoplight, and maybe one gives another guy a look, and maybe one revs his engine a little bit, and it's game on. And so Sergeant Showalter is saying that people need to be a little less aggressive, or a lot less aggressive, and unfortunately it's cost two people their lives this month.
All right, Brian, thanks for joining us. That does it for this week's In-Depth segment. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, our Off the Beat segment involving the rise of thefts of tubas. You're going to want to hear about this one. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the PE Crime Blotter.
We cover the issues you care about. Here at the Press Enterprise and PE.com, local news matters whether you live along Route 66 or on Main Street. We provide regional analysis and in-depth investigation of issues like education, transportation, the environment, and much more. Important matters are covered here. That is how we keep you connected to your community. The Press Enterprise and PE.com. For home delivery, call 1-800-794-NEWS.
Welcome back to the PE Crime Blotter. It is now time for our Off the Beat segment. This one having to do with music, no pun intended. Joining me now is the Press Enterprise's Dana Straley. Dana, this has to do with a rise in tuba thefts in Southern California, having to do with the rising popularity of a certain genre of music.
Yes, banda music, an outgrowth of polka music that European immigrants brought to the Mexican state of Sinaloa. It features the tuba front and center with its deep oompa beat, or deep oompa carrying the beat, and it's a type of popular dance music. Tuba thefts have been plaguing high schools in Los Angeles County from East LA all the way out to Manhattan Beach, the Associated Press reported last week. Inland band directors say they haven't heard of any musical instrument thefts here related to banda yet. They have had other instruments stolen, however. These tubas cost about $6,000 or so for a new good tuba, at least a few thousand for a used tuba. A few $1,000s is cost for a lot of different high school band instruments.
Yeah, it's definitely no joke, as you said, extremely pricey for these instruments. Mm-hmm. The instruments that were stolen at our very own Ramona High School and then a couple other high schools weren't exactly tubas, but still nonetheless expensive instruments.
Yes. Ramona High School is offering a reward for the return of their trombones and tenor saxophones, not related to the banda thefts in Los Angeles County, they don't think. But the instruments are still expensive. They're still run like $1,000 or more each.
All right, well, hopefully everyone can enjoy their banda music without committing crimes from now on. Dana, thanks for joining us. That does it for our Off the Beat segment and also does it for this week's PE Crime Blotter. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.